Our first Hangout, and apologies for the audio being a little lag there. But I'm just going to let everybody introduce themselves. I didn't really give you exactly who the speakers were, but they'll tell you a little bit about who they are, their position, and what they do in their daily duties or responsibilities. And then we'll open it up for Q&A, and we'll take it from there. So turn on the volume.
No, it's just amazing. The video is like almost in sync, and the audio is so bad.
It's so bad. Well, so we'll start off with John, if that's okay. His name is John Salch, and he'll tell you a little bit about who he is, what he does for us.
Hi, John Salch. Nice to meet you. I've been with Pros for 16 and a half years, and I manage a group called Technology and Platforms, which does a lot of the next generation cloud-based product development, and also manage a few other teams, including our IT organization. And happy to be at the Hangout, and happy to help with any questions or anything anybody wants to hear about Pros. I'm happy to help with that.
Thanks, John. Steve, you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Steve Urban. I've been with Pros for about 8.5 years. I actually started off in our science and research organization that does a lot of the cool math voodoo in the back end to figure out how do we do some of our awesome forecasting and optimization. I'm now working in John Salch's team, working mostly on our cutting-edge cloud-based pricing software products. So lots of learning there, new markets and new software technology all the time.
Okay. Will?
Hi, my name is Will Price. I'm off camera. You can't see me right now. I'm a software architect here at Pros. Been with the company about 9 years now. Seems like it was just a short time ago that I joined. And the reason why it seems like it's been such a short time is because I've never been bored here. And John, the day that I get bored is the day that I will submit my resignation.
Yes.
But it's been 9 years strong. It's been a great experience, and happy to be here.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello, my name's Kirk Roy. I am also a software architect here at Pros. I have been here 15 years, and I think I've pretty much worked on the gamut of all the products that we've had throughout the years. The first product I ever worked on here was actually a Microsoft C++ MFC application talking to back-end Java servers. And I went from that all the way up till today, where I'm working on a new cutting-edge cloud service software that is for revenue optimization for our airlines products.
Sure. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Urban Wallman, and I've been at Pros for a little over 6 years. My official title is Senior Software Architect, but it truly is not representative of the things that I do day to day. I've had the pleasure of working with John since day one, and I've also, during my tenure here and various projects, have had the pleasure of working with other people as well as Kirk on some of our initiatives. When I first joined, one of the initiatives that we had was around Microsoft, the Microsoft technology stack, and bringing our pricing excellence and the products that we have into the Microsoft space, and specifically around the Office platform. Then also helped to build our mobile practice, and then most recently around CRM, Salesforce and Dynamics. I get to spend a lot of my time working with customers today, which I really enjoy, understanding their business problems and how we can help solve the problems that they have, helping with sales, both technical pre-sales and post-sales. So, not only in the technical world, but also on the sales and side of the world, working with the customers that use our software day to day. So, really enjoy the things that I get to be involved in, the things I get.
Good, thank you. These are the guys, of course, that are actually in the development group. But actually, we have a recruiter here with us as well, and some of you guys maybe have met him at some of the colleges, perhaps along with myself.
Stand up, I'm right here.
So he's a new employee, so he can give you a new employee's perspective.
Yeah, still new to the team, less than 2 months. The distinction of supporting part of John Salch's IT group and part of professional services as well. Based out of Austin, but here at the headquarters today. So happy to be here.
And our other lovely person here is Paisley. Paisley is in HR. Paisley, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Paisley Adams. I've only been here for about 6 months this month. I work in HR under Rodney Nathan, talent acquisition team.
So if you guys are ever interviewing or talking to one of us, Paisley's probably the person you'll make the contact with or will cater to you when you come to Pros or greet you at the door. So many of you submitted questions, but I think I want our folks to talk a little bit about Life at Pros, basically, and then we do actually have a campaign called Life at Pros. I don't know if you guys have seen that. So we're having a lot of fun with that, I think, in that we as employees can take pictures and post them about what it's like to be a pros. So I know Steve is probably eager to tell you a little bit about some of the fun stuff that we do. We actually have a lot of fun. We work hard, but we have a lot of fun too.
You don't get any credit in the contest for this, by the way.
Actually, I was just going to say, since nobody online has actually seen Rose, she's
they know me.
Actually, well, since you're not on there, I'm going to say, you're ruining my joke. I was going to say, the latest cutting-edge AI that we actually built here, Pros, sounds just like a real HR person, but it's actually a computer running everything on the back end.
Did they make a movie about that recently?
I think so. I don't think it ends very well. Maybe I should back off that train of thought. Yeah. No, we do have a ton of fun around here. Events all the time. We do some things like an annual product event where we go off, and last couple of years we base it off some kind of a movie-ish theme. So we've had things like a spoof of the Hunger Games that we called the Pros Games, and we had one that was Star Wars themed this year. And the idea there was
Product Wars.
Yeah, it was Product Wars. That's right. And the idea there was to get people together under a central theme, do some team building across all of our development, product management, and other organizations, and just have a lot of fun. As you can probably tell from the kind of banter we'll have here today, we do work hard, but we also like to play hard. And if you ever follow #LifeAtPros online, you'll see some of the pictures on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, that show you the kind of stuff we do at the office.
Well, you want to share something about your experience? I mean, life for you at Pros, I should say.
Life for me at Pros, I don't think I'm going to be able to get into that.
You'll be fine if
I think one thing I think would be good, because you do a lot of the
Hi, everyone.
you do a lot of the college recruiting for us. I mean, I kind of would like to. I know there's some students.
I'll just kind of lean in here. And say, hi, guys. This looks a little scandalous. But, so there hasn't been a lot of scandal at my life at Pros, but that may be changing now. I can't see what Steve is doing behind me. I started Pros as a junior developer, and I worked my way up to the level of architect in about 7.5, 8 years. So I'm new to my current position, but I've been here a long time. And I told you in my introduction that I've never been bored, and the things that we do here are interesting. It's interesting to see the necessary difference between what our customers need and what our customers are comfortable with, but also how can we be on the cutting edge and kind of almost introduce new technology to them. And there's an interesting balance there. So Pros likes to be on the cutting edge as much as possible, and we've always got that corporate side of, well, what will our customers accept? But I think compared to some of the other organizations that I've talked to, Pros is doing the right things at the right time, and we're kind of ahead of the pack.
Kurt?
Yeah, as I said, I've worked at Pros for about 15 years, and also, as Will says, it's never a boring place. And I would also like to add that prior to working at Pros, I have been in software for about another 12, 13 years. And one of the things that first impressed me about Pros, and impresses me even more today, is the level and quality of people that you work with here. Prior to coming here at Pros, worked with a lot of people that were very, very good at what they did in development. Things didn't move quite as fast as when they were at Pros, but when I came here, the team that I first started working with, basically on our O&D product, was some of the smartest people I've ever worked with, and it has always been that way ever since day one at Pros. So it's always been a wonderful learning experience here, not just in terms of my own personal growth and going out and learning new technologies and things, but also just from the people that you work with here. there's a question on here about the 20 to 30 PhDs. They really are here, and I'm telling you, John is one of them. And you work with John, the guy's mind moves like 50,000 miles a second. I mean, the guy's just jumping and jumping and jumping. And there's a lot of people here at Pros like that. It's such a great learning environment.
Nice.
Also, I mean,
Pay him later, right?
yeah, there was a few times John and I were ready to go at it, but
That's okay.
but and like I said at the beginning, I've run the gamut of technology here at Pros. I mean, first thing I worked on here was literally an MFC application back in '99. After that, we were actually using Corba with Orbix, Corba Orb. And we moved from that over into the Java framework, set of Java servers. We built our own almost Hadoop-like framework. We actually built our own distributed computing system here. We built that from the ground up, and this was before there were Hadoops and those types of frameworks. Now they're there. So it's kind of funny when we go and we start working in Hadoop frameworks. It's kind of like, well, you know, it's really not that much different from what we were doing before.
We built our own MapReduce.
That basically. And I've worked through different various flavors of Java. We've used Corba. We've dumped Corba. We've moved on to RMI. We've went into the realm, started working with Urban on the Microsoft platforms, doing Office business applications, doing integrations of our Java-based applications with SharePoint and through various web parts and workflows and things like that. We actually had these things communicating back and forth. And on to doing cloud-based computing. Doing things, building up whole applications first on Amazon. We took that, ported it over to Azure because we have a relationship with Microsoft, and we're using all the latest tools. We migrated from using Oracle to SQL Server to Cassandra to MongoDB. All these tools are being used today here at Pros. In addition to various languages, we have products that are written in Scala, and we're doing Groovy platform. Software written on Groovy and Grails. And it's just been an awesome experience for me the past 15 years. Like everybody says here, I have not been bored.
You know, so you asked about life at Pros. And if anyone has followed Pros, and we know, is that in the last few months, Pros has grown, not only in terms of bringing new people on board and, you know, here in Houston, but we're also growing through mergers and acquisitions. And let me just share with you some anecdotal from some of the people that are now have joined Pros from other organizations or other companies. I'm working very closely with a company that we just recently merged with, and they're on-site Pros this week for the very first time. So they're being exposed to Pros firsthand, as opposed through me and a few other people. And their reaction to it is just truly amazing. You know, we talk about things that we're very proud of in terms of just being transparent, having conversations amongst ourselves where all of us have an opinion, but we have a voice. We can come into a room like this, express our opinion, everyone's opinion is heard, and at some point you have to come to a consensus and move forward because, we have to. I mean, that's part of the progress and making decisions to move forward. But they come from a culture where there isn't such an open sort of conversation. We are agile in the truest sense. And everyone's opinion and everyone's voice is heard. And we are truly an innovative organization, not only just in terms of technology, but just in our day-to-day. I mean, we're very open to not only new tools, new technologies, but into methodologies and processes. When we say that we're an agile organization, we truly are. It goes not just the software development teams, but across the entire organization. I know people have told me that when Pros started looking at Agile and Scrum as our development processes, that John was a pioneer in that back a few years ago. Even our CEO at the time would come in and participate in the Scrums. He wasn't there to necessarily contribute, but he was there to say, I stand behind the direction of the organization going. And fast forward today, it's the same way. So, seeing Pros through the eyes of others and their reaction to it truly is invigorating and exciting just to see that people are Yeah, the same thing that I've experienced and my reaction to that is what other people that are new to the organization and seeing their reaction to it as well just validates what we've done in the direction that we're going.
To add on to some of the things that Urban just said, there's a few other questions here. I think I can knock about 3 of them out in one go. One was, are pros employees keen on learning? There was a question here around, I'm missing it here, but also around continuous delivery, if we have continuous delivery, and also how easily are new ideas and new methodologies introduced. So we do continuous delivery. A few years ago, or a couple of years ago, this was something that we were looking more and more into in the cloud-based products. And one of the things that I really enjoyed on this is actually John threw this challenge at me with a few other individuals at Pros, is to figure out what is the right way for us to do this across multiple teams. And going through that learning experience, a few of us would just keep going through. We hit the books. We went to all the blogs that we could on products and companies that did this successfully. And we've really transformed the way that we were approaching things in the cloud, doing end-to-end continuous delivery, making sure that we can effectively push button code changes out all the way through to a series of tests and staging and production environments. So it's just one of those examples where I've seen a bunch of people just get together across different teams. It wasn't, hey, I'm on this team, so I'm going to figure out how I'm going to do this for my group. On this other team, I'm going to figure it out for this other group. We unofficially called it our DevOps Syndicate because we liked some sinister sounding name, the cabal from across all of these groups that got together to do all this learning. But it's just one of those examples that I personally had a chance to learn about something I didn't know much about, and within a space of a few months, be part of a team that's influencing the way we now deliver products at Pros.
Anybody else want to share something? I think one of the things too, maybe what you guys touch on is, I know Pros customer service, but we try to make it also an employee experience as well, as you guys have mentioned. But I think customer service is key for us, and the fact that we're able to maintain a good customer base. Y'all want to share a little bit about sort of what we do with the different customers? Not anything proprietary, but just, you said you interface with some of the customers, correct?
Right.
Maybe just, what are the reactions to working with them, and maybe let's say from an external point?
Well, our motto is that if our customer's not successful, we're not successful. They can buy our software, but if that software isn't used, and if it's not solving their pain points, then we failed. So we know we have some great software. We are the world leader when it comes to pricing and revenue management. We're unashamed about that. But it's very competitive out there, and our customers do have options. They do have choices. And that's part of our value proposition, is that when we go into a sales engagement, we're not only selling our software, but we're also selling our people. The people that can make the software behind it, that our innovation behind it, our science department. We have a strong science department. That's part of our value proposition. That's the thing that distinguishes us between the other competitors that are out there. And then it's also our professional service organization. We go into it, we don't throw something across the fence and it's on your own. We're your partner through the journey to you're in production and past production, because we want you to be successful. And again, I like to say, if you're not successful, we're not successful. It truly is a partnership.
Yeah, if I could add to that, I know many of our customers have been Pros customers for 15, 20 years. And they're personal relationships with these people. We are on first name basis with these people, and it truly is a partnership. First tier partnership between us and our customers. They help us understand what new features and things should be in the product, and we build them. And it is something that's one of the biggest things I think of our strength with Pros, is that if you go and you ask any of our references, they'll say, the great people, they go out of their way to actually make us successful. So,
in what countries do you know people personally in our customers that you've interacted with?
We know people in Switzerland. We know people in Germany. We know people in Singapore. It's truly a global company.
And you know, to your point, Kirk, is that Pros has its Outperform conferences and other conferences where we're out there as a company. Many of the speakers are our customers that are out speaking on behalf of Pros. And we're not paying them to come and speak. They're speaking because they are providing real-world evidence that we have helped them in their initiatives and helped them to solve their problems. And, you know, sometimes our harshest critics are our customers because they push us to take that next step, or where there's something that, you know, they may be challenged with, then they would push us. But at the same time, that same individual will be the first one to stand up and be our #1 advocate. To me, that speaks volumes, because I, like Kirk, have been in the software industry for a long, long time. And when you have a customer who says, you know, you need to do better here, but in the same breath will go out there and be your evangelist and your advocate, I think you won at that point.
William, do you have anything? I mean, you're an employee,
yeah,
just your
actually-
observations, and he's probably more of an external
No,
observer.
actually, I get this question a lot, so if we could have an answer to it. I saw it on there. What languages, tools, or frameworks do you guys use in developing the products?
Well, let's see. Languages. We use Java. We use C#. We use, that's from Visual Basic in there a little bit. Visual C++ for some of the legacy applications. Scala, Ruby, Groovy,
JavaScript, HTML5.
JavaScript, HTML5. If you're doing CSS, we've got less. We've got some CoffeeScript going on. Clojure.
R and Python.
If you're in the science world, yeah. We covered the basic .NET languages. That's languages. Now, when you want to talk frameworks, well, if we're already using all those languages, how many frameworks are there in all those languages?
It's easier to probably say which ones we are.
Yeah,
using.
which ones we are using.
Are we doing anything in List?
Well, there are things that are List-like. I've got a coworker that's working on one of our formula processor engines, and he's working on the parsing. So there's a lot of parentheses there. So that's kind of but yeah. So right there, we're talking about simple formula processing, just representing simple expressions, and you're pulling in Java technology, parsing text that's stored in Cassandra, and we're writing a grammar. So you have JLEX and JCOP, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, but I'm already listing half a dozen things. And this is a very small part of what our software does. It's not even the core part. It's just supplemental. And I'm already listing half a dozen things, so I can't possibly list them all. But if you want to participate and have a particular framework in mind, jump in the chat and ask the question, and we'll get you more information on that particular piece of technology.
And our cloud products we have had them deployed on Amazon. We have them deployed in Azure. As Steve pointed out, we have automated pipelines that build into there. These pipelines are being built with Chef, Puppet, and all the various deployment tools that are out there today. Jenkins.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so that kind of hits on one of the questions was there, what kind of open source projects, and do we use open source projects? Absolutely. Where it makes sense, and we know that the project is going to do something that there's no reason for us to rebuild all over again, and it is secure and safe enough for our customers' data to be come through. We'll absolutely take advantage of that and even contribute back on a lot of these open source projects, so we help the rest of the software community as well.
And we're using pretty much a lot of the Java frameworks. We're using Spring, we're using all the Apache Commons, utils, and all those types of tools.
So there's a question here about how adaptable are the Pros employees when new ideas are introduced. So
That's the one I was going to talk about when I talked about the there, I'm going to take it.
Well, I think this would be a good segue, John, to talk about the innovation cells and the innovation initiative that we have.
Sure. So we have an initiative we call our innovation cells, And what it does is it allows individuals in the company to apply to be a part of the innovation cells, and there's an application process we go through. And what ends up happening is we pick 2 teams a year, and each team gets each team gets 6 weeks of dedicated time, and all they work on is their innovation cell project for 6 weeks, and they build working software. Every year we have a theme, so the software needs to align with the theme, and but it's all up to them what they want to build, and they can use whatever technology they want. They can use, you just cut Kurt out of there.
I'm sorry. Trying to get a little bit of her, but
you can use whatever technology you want, and you build something, and there's 2 teams that compete, and at the end of the innovation cell process, they demo to our executives, and our executives choose a winner, and the winners get a Apple laptop or whatever device they want. So there's a nice little prize, and generally both teams that are in the innovation cells get some corporate, they get some stock in the company, and they get the recognition of building something. And sometimes the innovation cell products actually turn into real products in the company. I'll show you my laptop here. So this right here is the logo for our STEP product. If you look at step.pros.com, you'll actually see the website of that product, which has been launched into the market, and we are actively selling that product, and we have customers. And the individuals who were part of that product are still working on that product. So they were able to invent a new product where one did not exist, and we're actively putting energy into selling and growing that product line. So it's a very, very exciting thing. The CEO did not ask us to build that product. Our head of marketing did not ask us to go build a product in a new space. The team, it was 3 software engineers, invented a product where one didn't exist. So it's very, very exciting stuff. And so Google has their 10%, 20% time, whatever. Different companies have ways of doing this, but this is the way Pros does it: is to have that innovation cell process. And the only rule of the innovation cell process is no managers. So,
well, I have a whole list of questions that they submitted
but there
ahead
may
of
be
time.
people submitting questions
Oh.
up there too. There's a questions box up there. See that little questions drop down? Right here. And click that and see if you have any
Questions.
Wow, they're there. Okay. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
We're fine.
Okay. I guess I'm going to start with the first one, if that's okay, and then I think we've answered some of them. But the one question says every company may have a different way of keeping their data. Moreover, they may even have inaccurate data that they are not aware of. How do you use the customer data as input to your tools? And do you spend a lot of time reformatting the customer data? Do you check the accuracy of the data the customer has provided? Several questions grouped into one, but anybody want to take a shot at it?
Well, thank you.
Or several?
Kurt knows this problem very well.
So our products actually work on customer data. We take in pricing data for our pricing products. We take in airline data for our airline products. And yes, we do a lot of data scrubbing and data and checking for accuracy of the data. And that's just part of the product that we have to write, is to be able to make sure that that data is accurate.
But we also provide visualizations of the data so the
That's
customer can go and look and see if it makes sense.
We've had a lot of success stories with customers who were in a trial phase with us. They hadn't even purchased the product yet.
Yeah.
And when doing the demo, one of the things that we reveal to them is where they have bad data, or where their data is showing them something that they didn't see before. The data itself might be fine, but from a business point of view, it's very anomalous, and instantly they can go change their business practice to stop doing that, and they've made product before they've even put a single dollar down on the product.
Yeah, the product already paid for itself in the demo.
Correct.
Yeah. And as we keep working with our customers, one of the things that we're trying to do also is put more of those learnings that we got from our customers into our products and into our data loading components of our product so that we can automatically start detecting some of the things that we've seen before over and over again. So there's a bit of a human plus machine learning aspect to that, but it's kind of interesting to a customer when we run through the data and within minutes turn around and show them a screen that says, hey, here are some anomalies in your data, here's some things that we think are going on, and start not just telling them there's something wrong with it, but telling them what's wrong with it. Like, yeah, you usually sell this thing for $39.99. Somebody factoring it to $3,999. It's a fat fingering error. So being able to point some things out like that are seem obvious, but when it's buried in millions and millions of transactions, it's just something that our customers may have trouble detecting on their own.
Okay. Okay, next question. And obviously, he says, as far as I assume, which obviously you develop your own products. Yes, we do. Okay. Do you use open source? We talked about the open source, right? Data mining tools, or from third-party companies? Or do you develop everything from scratch? How often do you need to modify your tool?
Well, we don't do everything from scratch, or we'd never be able to ship a product. Right? So I think we covered this earlier. We do use open source. We do leverage third-party products where it makes sense for our customers. If you think about the database companies, Oracle, Microsoft, their database tools are data mining tools. It's not just a storage engine. It also is a query engine. And so we do traditional relational database queries. We factor in their OLAP engines for doing really drill down data mining through multiple dimensions. And we leverage those tools because those tools exist. Microsoft and Oracle and others have put a lot of man years into developing those tools to make them perform well. So we don't have to. Now that said, there's a lot of emerging technologies in MapReduce, in the cloud space, distributed computing, NoSQL. We're looking into those technologies too, and we have some products that are on the edge of using those types of technologies. But we don't write those technologies from scratch. We couldn't exist if we did that.
Good. Next question says, I read that you have 20 to 30 employees with PhDs. We covered that already. Do they develop software or do research, or a combination? I guess.
And, not or.
Yeah.
And, right?
Yes.
Okay. Boys are keen on learning. We did that. We talked about the adaptability. And I know Will does. Do the pros employees attend local user groups?
So I'm going to cover that question and the ones that we just skipped over. So are we keen on learning?
We hate learning.
Steve hates learning. So are employees keen on learning?
Keep the ideas out of your head.
Are we adaptable? Come on, guys. Are we adaptable when there are new ideas? Are we willing to adapt and pick up new things that we weren't doing before that help us improve in the long term? And do we attend local user groups? So the answer to all of that is we do. You cannot work at Pros and not learn new things. The company is moving so quickly, is doing so many different things. This is not a place where you come in and do the same thing every day for years. We're always doing new things. You have to learn. You can't survive here without it. So that answers the first three. One of those ways in which we hope that our developers learn is with local user groups. We have participants in the local JavaScript user group, and I can speak more from a first-hand experience with the Houston's Java user group. That group has 11 meetings a year, and Pros is sponsoring 9 of them in 2014 right here in our building.
Hosting and sponsoring.
We are sponsoring and hosting, not in our meeting space, but in our same building. So if you are in the Houston area and you are interested in Java, you should definitely come to 3100 Main Street. It's the last Wednesday of every month, and it's not here this month, but it will be here for 9 out of the 11 meetings.
No.
Do we still supply the pizza?
So we don't supply the pizza. We supply the meeting space, and then other people supply the pizza. But there's pizza. It will be there, even though Pros isn't paying for it. We're paying for the seat.
Awesome. That's right. Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
There was one other one. How do you, as an employee, learn externally?
Yes.
Which I think is kind of a follow-on from that question.
That's going to be an individual question. I think everyone learns differently. I read a lot of stuff on the web. I'm following the traditional technology blogs. When I have a question at work or a new topic comes up, it's a Google hit. Where are the blogs that are covering it? Where are the articles or the homepage and the documentation? Part of my job is to research these things, so I just kind of dive in whenever something new comes up, and that's how I do it.
How do you interact? How do you interact with other pros people about the things you're learning?
Do I interact with other people?
Yes, you do. You do some.
Well played.
Sometimes.
So this crosses over again from the external side back to internal, but we have internal newsgroup forum posts to share that you can subscribe to and get an email notification or browse or search on your own time. We have wiki internally for doing a search and learning new topics. All that information is there.
That small social network we have also.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
There's the corporate Facebook.
Yes.
If you want to lead that, John, jump right in.
Yeah, we have a Yammer network for all employees. And so if Will finds something really interesting, he can post it on Yammer so others can learn from his research. And lots of people are interacting on Yammer. There's lots and lots of posts. There's people talking about racing cars and people talking about closure. And so there's all kinds of topics and ways to meet other people with similar interests and ways to bring external learning, things that you're interested in for others. For instance, I read a lot of RSS, and when I find something interesting, I'll post it in Yammer and make a comment. Hey, I found this really interesting, and other people read it. They can like it. So it's kind of like, as Will said, an internal Facebook, but it's mostly an ecosystem of pros employees.
And the kind of stuff that people post there, it's kind of funny. Sometimes I find myself hard pressed going to a technical blog and finding something relevant that wasn't already posted. So it's one of those things that sometimes I just enjoy jumping on, and I can basically get caught up with almost everything that's relevant in the industry to our business just by reading posts that people like Will, John, and a bunch of others have posted on there. So it's a really awesome place to get a concentrated newsfeed.
And from the recruitment standpoint, that I read your information all the time because I have to learn it. I have to tell them, like, well, what is this? I have to learn it because I don't know what I'm talking about when I'm talking to people. So that's part of it. I go to Yammer first, and I go, okay, then I Google and see what it does, and then I go to Yammer and get a better understanding, and then I go ask. But yeah, it's a useful tool for everybody. It really is.
Culturally, I'd say culturally, we encourage employees to go learn, and not just learn of what I'm working on. Go learn things you're not working on. And I will find, I think if you ask people that maybe don't work here anymore, they might have found that challenging. So it takes a certain type of individual who wants to learn and who enjoys it and just you get energized by new things. I think people that get energized by new things will really enjoy it here. I think people who don't will have it very challenging. It's like drinking from a fire hose at times. So I think you really have to enjoy learning both with what you're doing as well as other things, and try to bring those things into the job.
And the development department also has a budget annually for sending a subset of people to conferences. So the company does sponsor that, and it's really up to developers. If you're interested in particular technology, you just simply ask your manager if you can go to a particular conference, and if the manager agrees that it would be useful for pros and there's room in the budget, you go. And then your responsibility then is to take notes and bring it back to pros and give a presentation to the other developers who weren't as lucky as you, but so they get to share that learning experience.
And there's too many of those to even list that we've done in the last year or 2 years. It's a wide variety of things, from technical topics like the Microsoft Build Conference to management topics. I attended the Business of Software Conference, which was really interesting. So we've all gotten to attend different types of events based on different things that we were trying to learn or explore. And that's another way to learn externally, is to go and talk to other people at other companies.
Exactly.
Just one follow-up point with that is that even though I have a technical title, in my day job, I spend a lot of time doing a lot of non-technical things,
Of course.
which I find exciting. But the thing that really drives me is I want to stay technical, because that's my origin. That's where I cut my teeth. That's where I started out. I started out as a programmer. and that has been my career for the last 20 plus years now. But it's the people around here that really drive me and motivate me. I talk to Will, he tells me about something cool that's exciting him. You know what I do? As soon as I get a spare moment, I can't let him have one up on me. At least I gotta be able to have a conversation. And John drives me to say, have you considered this? Have you thought about that? Well, I can't lie to him. So that night I'll go and do it. And same with Kurt. And I think all of us can probably have that. We'll make the same comment, is that we're all driven by it because it's the way I like to describe it. Sure, we're coming here, it's our job, but it's more than a job. The people here, it's our profession, and even more than that, it's our passion. And so while we may be doing something 8 to 5, we're still pushing ourselves, we want to grow, because we're investing not in a job, not in a company, but in our profession, and it's our passion. People go, well, what do you do as part of your hobbies? Okay, it's this. Mostly it's
We're
this.
connected to
Right.
There's a lot of geeks here,
Yes.
and we're proud of that.
Some of us prefer nerd.
Nerd was the
old school
pejorative.
thing. They're called
I don't know. I embrace it.
switched.
I embrace it. Whatever.
So let's be honest. Rose, she cleaned us up. We did have our Star Wars and our Star Wars T-shirts, and we put.
We are very casual here, as you'll see. It is a very casual
I
environment.
didn't pay for this shirt.
How, Irvin? How do we decide which idea we're going to implement? You know, whose ideas get taken and get chosen, and why?
So, John, it goes back to a comment I made earlier, is that all of us have a voice. I know working with you, you're very interested in what I have to think, or what I have to think, or what I have to say. And in every team, every initiative I've been a part of, everyone's opinion has carried the same weight. We want to hear what people think, what they have to say.
So how do we decide if the three of you are in a room and y'all are arguing about we should do it this way or that way? How do we choose the best way?
Typically, it's sticks and knives, but when we can't do that, you know, honestly, John, is that a lot of times we respect each other in our opinion, and a lot of times we're able to come to a consensus. But at some point, if we can't, then someone has to make a decision, and then we move forward with it.
But I mean, how would you evaluate the best decision? What criteria do you use?
Well, I will fall back on my experiences and my knowledge. So if I'm the one who has to make the decision, then again, I'm going to listen to everyone. Everyone has an equal voice. But I will fall back, if I have to make a decision, I'll fall back on my experiences and what I think is best, not only for the initiative, but also for the company. So I look at it not only in terms of...
That's kind of where I was going, was we really try to choose the idea based on merit and based on value to the company and based on value to customers, not on, hey, it was John's idea, so we need to do it.
Right.
Or it was Steve's idea, so we better do it because Steve said to do it. It's more of, hey, what's best? And guess what? Sometimes it's my idea, and sometimes it's Irvin's idea, and sometimes it's Steve's idea, and sometimes it's another idea that somebody else invented. And you know, we have to. When you were talking about, you know, knives or whatever you were talking about, whenever we're duking it out, so to speak, or having an argument, we try to keep it about what's best.
Right.
And how do we solve the problem? And the passion is directed at that. It's not an ego.
Yeah.
It's not. We try to keep the ego out and try to not make it be, oh well, you know, John's you know in this role in the organization and Steve's in this role. So well, we better do what John says or we better do what Steve says. It's more about, hey, what's going to be best?
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter what position you're in the company. The idea is based on merit, not based on hierarchy or title.
That's one thing that I've learned, and I would say even the hard way, is that I have to check my ego out.
Yes.
Because I'm going to go into a meeting, and there's a good chance, a high probability, that everyone in that room is going to be smarter than I am.
Yes.
In most cases, it is the truth, and I have to accept that. But you're right, John. It's based on merit. What is the right thing, not just for me as an individual, what's the right thing for the organization, the company, direction.
And you know what, I'm thinking about this, how we kind of argue through and look at each of the sides. I don't think a single one of my ideas has ever been implemented at Pros. It's always morphed. It's as, I may have an idea, this is how we should do it, but based on a discussion with somebody else, it morphed a little. So maybe I had the origin of an idea, but then John added to it or changed the direction a little bit because of his experience and his thought process. Kurt comes along or Will comes along and it changes again and it just keeps evolving. So that's one of the nice things, if you can keep the ego out of it, but yet still have that friendly competition like you mentioned between you and Will. All of us want to feel like we're contributing, where none of us wants to feel like a leech who's just kind of working off of others' expertise. May not mean we have expertise in the same thing, but we bring some part of the puzzle to the table. And that's what I've noticed over and over again is one of us may be very passionate about a certain direction or a certain type of idea. Like we talked about continuous delivery earlier. I was really helping drive some of that, but my ideas were not what made it in the end. It was what the collective came up with.
But you were part of the catalyst.
Yes.
And also, when a decision's made, it's not necessarily set in stone.
Yeah.
We've revisited plenty of topics,
that's right.
and we make the correct decision at the time that we make it.
Right.
And new technologies come along,
New
or the
information.
business changes, and we have to adapt.
Yeah.
And it's not a topic of, well, why did we do that before? It's what should we do going forward.
Yes. And what did we learn since the last time we revisited this? 3 months ago, this looked like a great idea. Now it doesn't look so good anymore. We need to do this other thing. So you have to be adaptable in your style. You have to be adaptable in your code. You have to be agile in your methodology. You have to be lean. Not make decisions when you don't need to make decisions, but make them when you do, when you have the most information on hand. And I think culturally, that's pretty much baked in across the company. But we have to. I would say it's baked in, but yet we have to challenge it every day also.
Yeah. It's still easy. I mean, we're human. It's still easy to say, hey, this was my idea. I wanted to go this way. But once the information starts coming in and you realize that it's time to change directions, there's new information, new feedback, you do.
I want to cover a couple of the technical questions that were submitted before we run out of time, particularly since they seem to be in the area of how does our process keep our code quality at a high level. And that's something that I'm personally passionate about, so I wanted to answer some of these. So, do we have issues with lots of bugs and high technical debt? Well, that's a loaded question there. We have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of lines of code. So there are going to be tons of bugs. I'm going to admit that. But we find them. We do that by running unit tests and integration tests and behavior-driven tests. We try to do test-first and test-driven design. We have code coverage tools that let us visually map exactly what parts of the code are hit by tests and which have not been. We have certain quality standards to make sure that those things do not fall below a certain level. I'm thinking of one of our oldest Java libraries that has been around since Pros adopted Java in around 2000, 2001. And that piece of code is old. But it has, it is old. I mean, it's older than Windows XP. I mean, it's old. And it has over 75% code coverage, which by most standards is pretty good. But compared to some of our other libraries that have been around less long of time, sitting at 99% code coverage, testing is a very strong part of our development culture. It's mandatory. We do it, and that's how we help keep our technical debt down to a reasonable level. We have bugs. We fix them as we find them, depending on their priority. But we don't have a whole lot of untested code, so we have fewer bugs than you might think. So that covers some of the practices that help us get there, which is another question. We do test-driven development where we can. We do have a continuous integration server. So when you check in code, after it's been code reviewed, the build starts automatically. And I say after it's been code reviewed because we may all be familiar with the recent news of a very large tech company that had a very embarrassing security bug out this previous weekend.
You just have to get them.
I'm
bringing that up every chance you get.
It is an important lesson for all developers to learn how one errant line can go
What
wrong.
company would you be talking about here?
I'm not, John, I'm not an evangelist for a particular or against a particular company, so I'm trying not to get sued here.
You're an equal opportunity.
Offender, right?
The point is that particular security bug, in most developers' opinions, probably could have been caught by a code review, or if the code review missed it, could have been caught by tests, and if tests missed it, even if they were automated, there should have been some manual process for testing it. And I would feel pretty confident that that particular mistake is extremely unlikely to happen at pros when everyone's doing what they're supposed to. Not just did the developer get it right, but did the entire team do what they were supposed to as a process. So that's how I feel about our quality.
There's 4 minutes left, and there was one question posted up there. You want to jump to that one, and then we'll call it? It's already right there on the screen.
Oh,
Click
sorry.
select.
This one?
Yeah, just hit select there. There we go. Selecting question. You mentioned encouraging external learning. So do you have policies around outside non-competitive personal side projects that might come out of that? So I would say we really don't have any policies that tell you not to go work on something. We do have non-compete agreements, but this mentions non-competitive side projects. I would say we don't have any policies against it. It's really going to be a case-by-case basis. And it kind of, I would say if you're working on a side project and it's not getting in the way of you contributing to pros for your role, and especially if it's some kind of technology that could end up being useful to pros, or it helps you grow your own ability to write code, or helps you bring some technology to pros, that's even more encouraged. We do have people that work on side projects that may be technology or not technology related, that are around helping people or things of that nature. Those things are certainly encouraged. But in terms of the question, no, there's not a policy that says you can't have side projects. But we do want when you're here, you're given 100%. And we've got a lot of people working here, and everybody's depending on the people. So we do want to make sure that if your side project is your main project, then probably you should be working on that. Yeah. But if your side project is a hobby or something you're doing, absolutely, there's no policy to stop you from doing that.
Right. I mean, for example, we have some photography buffs, and they enjoy writing software, even contributing back to open source projects around photography, and yeah.
Sometimes just volunteer work is also volunteer work that they contribute. Maybe write a program for a charity or something, so that's okay too.
And there's people working on open source projects. There's people at the
And pros trust you to use your best judgment too. I mean, it can be pretty obvious if you're duplicating what pros does in an external system. That's going to be a problem. Yeah. If you're using pros' resources to do something completely unrelated to the job, that would be an obvious problem. But if you're reasonable about what you're doing and you're doing it on your own time, right, it's usually not an issue. I've contributed to open source projects just in my spare time, what little there is.
Yeah, I'd say if you were sitting at work on your work laptop on the work network building your own Spotify, might be a problem. But generally speaking, I have not even personally heard of an instance where we had an issue with this in the entire time I've worked at pros. So it really comes down to we measure performance. Performance matters. So if you're doing well, you're contributing to your team, the team's getting its objectives completed, things are getting completed, good quality product, and you're working on something on the side, nobody's gonna say anything.
Thank you.
So I think we are right
We're
at the
going to
time.
be right at the time, so I think we'll be cut off in like maybe 30 seconds. So thank you everybody for joining in, and thank you guys for sitting in. And I did notice one thing really quick. I'm sorry to bring any female developers. We will have them here next time. There are women in the group too. I'm so sorry. I just realized they're all men today.
We do have female developers, and they get involved in all the debates just like the rest of us. So it's a fun place.
Thank you.
Thanks
Bye.
very much for the
You're
question.
welcome.
Bye-bye.
All right.